Malcolm Perry, fresh off more than 200 on the ground, leads the Midshipmen at home against the invading Bulls of USF and the red-hot runner, Jordan Crockright. From Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland, American Athletic Conference football, Navy against USF. One-game final in the American already. UConn hung tough, but Houston got the win, clipping UConn by a TD. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm John Sadak alongside the Hall of Famer in Randy Cross. And Randy, these are two teams that can bring the pressure. These are also two teams enjoying resurgences. Navy has more wins than it amassed all of last year. USF has recovered from an 0-2 start to win 3 of 4.
A lot of common themes, but the two major ones is defensively. These are both very aggressive defenses, and they both run the ball really well. USF really just the last couple of games has started doing it, but both teams have a common theme of running games.
In terms of the quarterbacks, Malcolm Perry for Navy, he has been on the last couple of weeks.
Unbelievable. His fourth in his career 200-yard game last week against Tulsa, but 2 weeks ago his defining moment was against Air Force with that final drive. He's really turned into one heck of an option quarterback. And for USF, I tell you, McLeod has been a kid that has really started to blossom. If his hand and shoulder, which have been banged up, come along, he should be able to catch a lot of these wide open receivers down the field.
The head man for USF, Charlie Strong, the veteran Sage, has a lot of ties to Navy, including his brother Billy, spent time with submarines for years. On the other side, Ken Niumatalolo, the winningest head man in Navy history and a two-time Coach of the Year in the American Athletic Conference. The defense for Navy, a big part of their turnaround. For more, she and Stanwyck Birch.
That's right, John. The Navy defense has gotten a lot of praise this season, and for good reason. The Midshipmen have dramatically improved in every major statistical category over last year. Defensive coordinator Brian Newberry told us overall he's been pleased, but that he's noticed a letdown in the defense in the second half. He told us he wants to see the defense play a full 4 quarters and importantly win that second half.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. We'll see if that integration in practice spills into the game. Low 60s at the game's kick. The toss was won by Navy, elected to defer. USF, Charlie Strong told us if they had won the toss, they wanted the ball at the game start. Here's the boot. Bentley Sanders neutralized, one of the game's top kick returners. Watches it whistle for a touchback. Our starting lineups brought to you by Chick-fil-A. That's Cal for good afternoon. And that quarterback for USF, Blake Barnett, is done for the year. Had surgery just this week, and that puts more pressure on Jordan McLeod, the redshirt freshman, who is 3-1 as a starter, Randy.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, shoulder and wrist problems have limited his accuracy throwing-wise. As that gets better, his accuracy should get better, and that'll mean play action will be double deadly for USF.
He was just 7 of 14, under 100 yards last week. Did not look spectacular in warm-ups today. Against a 3-man front with motion, and they sweep it. Eddie McDoom sheds Evan Fachman, but the second hit cuts him down to the 30 from Diego Fagot. The rest of the offense for USF includes the NFL prospect at tight end, Mitchell Wilcox.
Yeah, he's really starting to blossom and an excellent adjuster to the ball. If the ball's not exactly perfect, right now, that's the best receiver.
Now the quick hitter muted quickly as Jackson Pittman, the beefy nose guard, gets the drag down. The defense for Navy, Jacob Springer leads them in sacks and tackles for loss.
When it comes to that tight end Wilcox, Jacob Springer is going to draw the assignment of trying to stay with him, because I guarantee you a linebacker can't cover that tight end.
And he's in that striker hybrid role. Third down could be paramount. The Bulls just inside the top 100 in the country. Navy defense in the top 15. Motion from Jannard Phillips. McLeod showing off that arm, and it's not there, incomplete. There was some contact as Cameron Kinley leapt up in the air.
Nice job by Fagot of jumping up and getting in the way, and that's a little early contact that Navy got away with defensively.
That was Kinley, one of Navy's bigger corners in years, matching up with Randall St. Felix. 29-year-old punter Trent Schneider, who spent 8 years working construction in Australia, He can boot it. He was a game changer against BYU last week. And that one dies and gives Navy solid field position north of the 35. What are your keys today?
Well, it varies by team, obviously, but for USF, what we haven't seen out of them so far, those power plays and counter plays. Defensively, tackles for loss and against the option, no guessing. Navy, knockdowns and finish on the offensive side. That comes from your offensive line. And then defensively, beg them to pass, and that's what they'll do. They want USF to throw the ball.
Malcolm Perry ran for over 200 last week, called it the worst game he's ever played. Keeps it here. And Perry gets smashed down by Patrick Macon, the Oklahoma State transfer. Starting lineups for Navy. Yes, Cal, I'll let you finish. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A. And Malcolm Perry entered today, Randy, needing only 54 yards to reach 3,000 rushing on his career.
That's been a good quarter for him in some games.
Right.
Yeah, he's really blossomed into a threat, an all-around threat as an option quarterback that can pass.
And here it's the inside look to the fullback. Nelson Smith earns the 42, gain of about 3. So it'll be 3rd and 4. David Forney had a slew of knockdowns last week against Tulsa.
Yeah, 14 of them, and really led that offensive line that got better and better as the game went on.
Work out of the pistol here. Does that neutralize the tackle for loss element from USF? Leads the country at 10 TFLs per game. The Navy's been great on 3rd down, tops in the conference. USF has been dire on 3rd down, 108th in America.
Showing a 4-man front.
Perry decides to cut it up, and he's got nothing. Neutralized by Rashawn Yates, the 6'3", 271 D tackle.
Yeah, nice job by Macon and company on defense, too. If you watch it, John, everybody's got an assignment. One guy has got the fullback. Macon had the quarterback. He never took his eyes off the quarterback. That's excellent discipline early on here by USF defensively.
Owen White, who's had a great year punting. He's drawn praise from Ken Niumatalolo. KJ Sales, an outstanding return man. Charlie Strong spoke with us this week about the need to steal a possession, and that could come on special teams. Just gets this off, and that's got good hang. A long run for Navy. That'll pin the Bulls inside of their 20. So a couple of punts early on. The defenses have shined, as you might expect. And we'll see the redshirt freshman of McLeod back out of the field. USF and Navy.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by USAA. Insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community. By Golden Corral, the only one for everyone. And by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.
The Mount Rushmore of rushing for Navy. Its top 3 runners. Malcolm Perry stands 4th, but only 3 yards on 2 carries on Navy's first possession. So USF has its second turn with the football. Jordan McLeod working out of the gun. Might we see some of the power run game that was so successful, particularly second half against BYU last week?
Power and the counter.
On the ball on the ground, McLeod scoops it up. And he's veered out of bounds, aided out by Kevin Brennan, gets about 6 on the broken play.
Yeah, John, just like you draw it up. Now, first you drop it, then you throw their timing off, then you sprint to the sideline. I mean, the defense starts committing inside to that run, which is where they were going.
Offensive coordinator Kerwin Bell working with tempo. Navy showing pressure. They haven't had a chance to show a lot. The timing has thrown them off, and that's a hard run by Jordan Cronkright, who, Randy, did nothing at the start of the season. In his first 4 games, 76 yards on 33 carries, over 300 in his last 2 games combined.
Yeah, averaging 150 plus and about 26 carries a game on average too, and real good one-cut power football.
10 yards there. Wilcox now on the line where he's improved his blocking. He leads the way on the toss. Navy's got some pressure. Cronkright gets spun around by Michael McMorris. He gets about the 32, so a gain of a yard. Cronkite, one of many big-time transfers on this team, came in from the University of Florida. Why did that difference happen, Randy? Why did he turn it on these last two?
I think it was the offensive line. He just wasn't getting the blocking the first half of the season, the first 3 games.
Quick hitter, Wilcox with the late block on Brennan, but the swarm arrives and swallows up Jannard Phillips. Tama Tuateli part of the pile there, and a flag out. USF pointing at Navy.
Offside, number 1, defense, 5-yard penalty, replay second down.
Referee Edwin Lee, that was Jacob Springer. Now Kerwin Bell in his first year as the OC led Valdosta State to 52 points a game and the Division II national title last year. Got his influence from the late Lindy Infante, who he played for with the Colts in the NFL. Shedding off the first couple of hitters, the twirling moves by Trayvon Sands, taken out by Kevin Brennan. There's 9.
Yeah, just good straight-on power football. No pulls, man-on-man blocking. There's USF just saying, hey, look, we're comfortable just going one-on-one and running that way instead of having to pull guys.
And flags. Randy, I feel like the tempo of USF is disrupting Navy here.
False start, number 77, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
That's their most veteran lineman, his 41st consecutive start today, Marcus Norman for Charlie Strong.
And sometimes pace can throw your offensive line off too.
Sure. But doesn't it feel like Navy hasn't had a chance to show or bring consistent pressure?
Well, they're right here in a real base defense. Late move into an offset.
On 1st and 15 with the penalty, McLeod flushed. McLeod slides down. He has a stinger in his throwing shoulder that was suffered in the early stage of last game against BYU.
Yeah, that's all down the field. There is nowhere to go with this ball. McLeod just has to sit there and eat it, and does a heck of a job getting back to about the line of scrimmage, or maybe about a +2 or 3. And that's all quickness and personal effort by him.
They don't have Johnny Ford, still suspended for an unspecified violation of team rules. He's their arguably best receiver in the slot. Off the pump, pressure. And McLeod's down. Springer living in the backfield. That'll be a loss of a couple of yards. Jarius Warren there as well.
Springer comes from the right side of the screen, blitzing. He's that 5th guy. They don't account for him. He causes McLeod to step up. Then the rest of the rush comes to the rescue and takes McLeod down.
Now, Randy, this is the situation that Ken Niumatalolo has to love. When USF is in 3rd and long, can McLeod make the throws?
We'll see how good his wrist and his shoulder's feeling today. Didn't look too sharp in warm-ups.
3rd and 17. The safeties were tight. They fade back some.
Showing 5, bring 3.
McLeod floats it a little behind his man, and that left Eddie McDoom dead to rights, and Jacob Springer, the clean tackle, only 2 yards.
Yeah, great job by Jacob Springer coming up, because McDoom is a speed demon. This guy has got some serious quicks. He's been wide open the last couple of weeks, and they haven't been able to hit him, but Springer has no problem bringing him down early before he can show that speed.
And Kerwin Bell spoke of the multiple post routes that were wide open that they could not connect on. Said the injury to McLeod had him throwing like a middle schooler.
How great is that name, though, McDoom?
That is brilliant. One ball to rule them all. Garrett Wynn watches that one plop. That's an outstanding punt by Trent Schneider. So Navy will have some distance. Neither team with a score just yet. Defense dominant. A last-second pass and an answered prayer. Monday night, 8 Eastern, relive one of the most famous endings in college football history through the eyes of the people who were there. It's 4 sides of the story. Hail Flutie on CBS Sports Network. No score in Annapolis. Time now for a day in the life of a midshipman, brought to you by Today's Military. We look at Fort Higgins, and Randy, I have to look up what some of these classes are.
It's incredible. I mean, it's simple to say he's a math major, but incredible stuff.
And he's actually really good at tennis. Also at lacrosse, by the way. Was a captain in lacrosse and in football in high school. He's the captain of the captains here at the Naval Academy. That goes beyond football. They have to go a long way inside of their own 10. Malcolm Perry Navy second possession, and he is dead to rights. Piercing pressure from Greg Reeves, the former walk-on who originally was at Air Force in their prep academy.
Reeves, I've got the quarterback. Watch him zero right in on Malcolm Perry. Defensive end, defensive tackle, outside. Everybody's got their assignment. Everybody's got their gap. Good execution.
Loss of a yard, tackle for loss there. Perry finds a little bit of space. He'll give up the body. Nick Roberts at safety chips him down at around the 18. A gain of about 10. The defense for the Bulls, Dwayne Boyles leads them with 8.5 tackles for loss.
Yeah, this is a team #1 in the country, and it's because they're aggressive, but they can't be aggressive against this offense. If you attack this offense, you're going to give up huge yards in the running game because they'll just gash you.
DC Brian Jean-Marie said they have to pick their spots. They did have 6 tackles for loss against Georgia Tech last year when they ran the option under Paul Johnson. Well, there the run from Malcolm Perry earns the first down. The tackle for the corner Mike Hampton, a gain of 4.
USF giving Navy a whole lot of different looks. They're giving him 3 down linemen. They're giving him 4 down linemen. That last play on 3rd and short, they showed 6 guys on the line of scrimmage.
Nelson Smith in the backfield. Perry taking his time, calculated. USF defense resurgent. Perry, the later pitch. C.J. Williams into a pile, and he'll get driven out. Picks up about 4. Antonio Greer, Devin Studstill combined on the stop. Ivan Jasper told us this week, Randy, make no mistake, he'll be downstairs for the rest of the year on the field.
Yeah, and Brian Jean-Marie made the point last night that these guys adjust better than anybody in the country, especially at this option. So he knows if he does something different, they'll adjust immediately the next play.
On 2nd and 6. Perry the pitch. That seemed to catch his man by surprise there. Devin Studstill gets the stop, a gain of 3 again for Williams. Armed Forces football proudly supported by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. So here's 3rd and 3. What's been working for Malcolm Perry and company?
Going to the boundary, coming this way to their right has been strong, and right now they have the numbers. So you just count the blockers on the right side, starting with the center, and count the white jerseys on the defense's left side. They have the numbers.
Instead, it's Nelson Smith, who seemed to hiccup as he got the ball, gets dropped at the 32 by Patrick Macon, and that's going to be good for a first down as he gets 3.
Nice job, especially with the double team. Left guard, left tackle take the defensive end and basically put him back in the middle linebacker's lap.
Malcolm Perry and Navy receiving votes in the coaches poll, off to a 4-1 start. The only loss came against Memphis. Perry was banged up during the game. Perry the flip. Miles Fells cannot outrun his man Antonio Greer Jr., the man they call Yo-Yo, who has come on the last couple of weeks. The brigade certainly was happy the last time Navy was on the field. That was when they faced Air Force. They were given liberties for the weekend as a result of the win. Might Navy be liberated to go to the air? I've not seen a pass yet from Malcolm Perry. The volume numbers passing-wise are down for Navy this year, but they're more efficient. Here's Perry's first crack. Off the pump, he had nothing, so he slips through. Malcolm Perry with a big block from Michael Cooper. Touchdown! 67 yards.
What a job by Michael Cooper. He's on the right side of the screen. He lines up at wide receiver. You figure, hey, a receiver blocking on a pass. Well, as Malcolm Perry starts to run, he starts to block, and he's the reason there's no support coming from that defensive right side.
Lejean Nichols for the point after. A line of scrimmage is more than just the offensive and defensive line. That's what Charlie Strong said. It would be critical. Wide receivers and DBs have to be a huge part of it. The point after good, and Malcolm Perry now has over 3,000 career rushing yards, the fourth man in Navy history to do so.
Well, Malcolm Perry's gotten unbelievably good at spotting man coverage. When he sees man coverage like he does here, he knows I make one guy miss, I make the spy miss, it's going to be 6.
Let's take a look at this week's Where Are They Now? Brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. The former Navy midshipman John Howell in 2010, 77-yard TD grab, the longest in Army-Navy history. These days, eat your heart out, Gardner Minshew. Look at that stash. He is at Miramar out in San Diego, the former home of the Top Gun School. An outstanding pilot, an outstanding midshipman, and Malcolm Perry, now top 4 in Navy history, the fourth man ever to reach 3,000 yards rushing. His score, Randy, the longest by any midshipman all year, 67 yards.
A great job by reading the defense, seeing what he had to beat, and then just flat out using speed. I'm not sure if Charlie Strong and company knew how fast he was, but they do now.
Ben Fee with the kick. Bentley Sanders, outstanding return man. Averages nearly 30 per, and he gets nothing. Gets spun around at the USF 18-yard line. Walter Little with the special teams tackle. Here's the TD.
Yeah, concentrate on Michael Cooper and his block, but also watch Antonio Greer, the linebacker. He's the spy. He gets a little nosy and comes up. He's supposed to be responsible for the quarterback if he's moving. Now, when you look at the end zone, it shows it even better because you really see the fact that he got too far up. He gets that missed tackle, and once that tackle's missed, that's a touchdown.
Here's a pistol look with an H-back. McLeod trying to show the hand. Might have been tipped. He does find his target, Randall St. Felix. He gets swung down by Cameron Kinley.
That's a good play for this USF Bulls football team, but they need to reestablish their dominance at the line of scrimmage. That's what made the difference in the second half last week against BYU. They ran the ball well, and they started off this game running the ball well.
2nd and 1. Cronkright had some space. It collapses. He does earn the first. Tripped up by Jackson Pittman. He gets a yard there. And they will move the chains.
Tell you, the play I loved watching them run last week was that old counter, originally run by the St. Louis Cardinals and Joe Bugle, and then made famous by the Washington Redskins. You pull the backside guard and use the backside tight end as the old tackle pulling.
Edge pressure shown by Navy here. And the run gets stuffed. Nothing there, thanks in part to Paul Carruthers with help from DeAndre Williams filling in at end.
Trying to use the backside tight end, pulling here as a trapper. Springer stuffs him back into the line, and there's nowhere to go inside.
Carruthers, one of the captains, getting some more reps. That's something Brian Newberry said in an effort to finish better in the fourth quarter. He wanted to rotate the second and third unit in more in the early stage. They show no pressure. Cronkright has nothing. Smothered inside of the 30. Gets a little more than a yard. Another denial for Carruthers and another 3rd and long for the Bulls.
Keep an eye on Brad Cecil right here and all his calls as the center. They're getting what they're expecting. He's got the blocking the right way, but right now Navy's defeating the blocking sequences that Cecil's calling for in that offensive line.
3rd down and a long 8. The get 6 chain is out. Part of the milestone that DC Brian Newberry looks for. 3 and out's part of it.
Is this just drop and bring 3?
The Bulls do have a first on this possession. There's the throw, a little behind his man, Randall St. Felix, and he'll be well behind the sticks. Stuck there by Diego Fagot, only gets 4, and the Bulls are 0 for 3 on 3rd down.
That's one of the advantages when you go ahead and you rush 3. You're not going to get pressure, but as far as dropping 8, you got those linebackers in that first line of defense, and Fagot doing an unbelievable job of coming up and just closing with a great one-on-one tackle.
And McLeod is not showing the ability to throw anything beyond the intermediate route.
He was throwing 45, 50-yard passes earlier today.
Snyder, outstanding punt. The retreating Wynn brings it in, takes a chance. And Wynn smashed down at around the 33. So Ian Deneen gets the special team stop. Malcolm Perry gets the ball again. He has the lone score. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Join CBS Sports Network for the AutoNation Cure Bowl, benefiting the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Head your way in December. We can tackle this. The pink pom-poms from the cheerleading crew. I've got my pink tie on as we praise all those who are fighting that battle. We head downstairs. She and Stanwick Birch for more on the maturity and development of Malcolm Perry.
Well, guys, Coach Niumatalolo told us that Malcolm Perry in that Air Force game crystallized his position at quarterback. He was so calm and confident. But Perry has continued to critique his own performances. Even in the Tulsa victory, he had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. He told Niumatalolo it was the worst game of his career. He still wants to improve on the little things, which makes the coaches happy knowing that he's not going to settle.
Appreciate that, Sheehan, and certainly something that we echoed. That final drive against Air Force, the toughness, the resolve. There, the first look for Jamel Carruthers at fullback, only about a yard. Blake Green disrupts. And Randy, you had a great moment with Malcolm Perry at the end of our chat this week about one play that stood out to you against Tulsa.
Yeah, Tulsa had a free runner. They had a safety who was right in Malcolm Perry's face, and he stopped. He just froze and looked at Perry, and Perry kind of smiled, looked like he smiled, ran around him and ran for about 20 yards, but he specifically cited that play as being a bad decision.
There, a good run by Jamel Carruthers, who continues to pound. He at first was well short. This is going to depend upon the spot. Patrick Macon disrupts. We'll see where the football is. And that's what Ken Niumatalolo loves to hear from his quarterback, that he continues to push for more. They still need a little less than a yard. So we reach the end of the first quarter. The Navy a 7-0 advantage. Malcolm Perry and Navy with 3rd and short, but we're back. The young ones having fun on the hill. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network. Today's installment of Navy's Greatest Legends brought to you by The Exchange. We look at Chris Swain, 2015 against USF, a $131 and a TD, one of 3 midshipmen to rush for 100 yards that day. Later at time with the Chargers and the Jets, top 10 in Navy lore. And oh yeah, Randy, 6 foot, 250 pounds, ran a 4.840. The fullbacks of today built a little differently.
Yeah, there it really is about quickness when it comes to the fullback position right now. 5'9" and about 200 pounds is the average weight of the guys at the fullback position.
That's Jamel Carruthers, who was converted from slot back, basically a running back receiver hybrid. He was Kentucky's Gatorade Player of the Year in high school football. And here he's got the first down and more. Carruthers. Mr. Football is Mr. Touchdown. 58 yards.
That's all set up by Ford Higgins and David Forney on the left side. Look at that hole. Wow. That's gashing the USF Bulls. Looked like he had a guess on the outside. You had 2 great blocks on the inside. That combination means all the way for the fullback. And that's that new speed and quickness at fullback.
Ivan Jasper said Carruthers is the fastest of his current stable of fullbacks. Bijan Nichols the point after. A scoring drive that just took a minute. And that kick just inside the upright.
It's all about that O-line inside. Look at this hole. Wide open. Then it's about speed. And the Navy fullbacks got plenty of that.
Next Saturday, 3:30 Eastern, CBS Sports Network, right back here in Annapolis. The Tulane Green Wave rolls in to face the Mids, only on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Tulane's got a biggie against Memphis still to come. Each of those teams receiving votes. SMU nationally ranked and undefeated. A tough test with Temple today.
Yeah, that Tulane game is going to be the acid test for Navy after this game is over. But rushing today has been all about that offensive line, specifically Kendall Wright and David Forney. After a slow start where Malcolm Perry got just swarmed, first Malcolm Perry and then Carruthers on long sprints. And I'm not talking about slow. I'm talking about they couldn't walk them down. USF is a fast defense, and they couldn't catch either one of the Navy midshipmen.
Look at the disparity at rush yards. The second and third longest scoring plays of Navy's season have them up 14-0. Each of those individual scoring plays more than the total yards of offense USF has, and USF has one time of possession. It'll get better position here. Procedural penalty with the kick out of bounds. So more pressure on Jordan McLeod.
Kick out of bounds. Kicking team. Ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. First down.
Let's check in with Sheehan.
Well, guys, USS have been struggling with quarterback injuries. Jordan McLeod was thrust into the starting role because senior Blake Barnett had a sideline with an ankle injury. Yesterday on Instagram, he posted he had season-ending ankle surgery. He talked about detailing some of his struggles and thanking all of his loved ones for their support, and also posted a picture of himself recovering on the couch with his little son, Brooks. Blake, we wish you the best and a speedy recovery.
And also, no love for the jabronis. Check out his full Instagram post for the full context. Cronkright, little cut back there, gets a few.
And back to Barnett real quick. You know, he had the same surgery that Tua Tagovailoa had last year, where they put a screw in and basically hold the two bones right above your ankle together. You heal a lot faster.
You had a similar scenario, right?
I had a similar kind of injury, but being a slow plotter, it wasn't quite as much of a problem.
On 2nd and 6, McLeod trying to step up off balance. He has his man wide open and plain misses Xavier Weaver. You can't be more wide open than that.
No, you can't. You know, and you look down the field into the quadrant on the bottom of the screen. Now, right now, you're wide open. This is not really an accuracy issue. Just throw it out there and let him run underneath it. It's just a composure thing. When a guy is that wide open, it's hard not to get just a little bit amped up. Kerwin Bell, the offensive coordinator for USF, has really been working on his young quarterback and trying to refine that.
So the brigade showing the shark fin, something Brian Newberry has imported to the sidelines. It's spilled into the stands, and here's a penalty, delay a game. McLeod couldn't get the snap off.
Play clock down to 0.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
You pain for McLeod. Charlie Strong told us when we met, hey, I'm not sure if he thought he would play this year behind Blake Barnett, who had time at Arizona State and Alabama.
Hey, he's a redshirt freshman and gets to learn on the job. And against some of the defenses in this American Conference, that can be a very challenging effort, especially this particular defense in the American Conference.
And he's doing it while he's been banged up with wrist and shoulder injuries.
Look at that look up front, 7 guys up.
Navy shows late press near side. McLeod locked left side. Checks down. Launches one-on-one. Incomplete. Looking for Stanley Clairvaux. Coverage there from Marcus Wiggins.
Good protection. Very nice protection. But they're going to come. Only 3. Bringing the blitz. He's got plenty of time, but he can't drop it in there. That's a step or 2 open, but he can't drop that ball in there.
Charlie Strong has seen his Bulls go 0 for 4 on 3rd down. Called the only down by Navy defensive coordinator Brian Newberry. Signs for that litter the landscape in his offices and the team facility. Garrett Wynn on the return. And Navy strong field position with the ball all the way up to the 41. We'll step aside. Jason Vaughn, the special team stop. Malcolm Perry has had a special day. Appreciate that, Brent. And Randy, you love what Oregon can do up front. That line is dynamite.
That's the best offensive line in the country. To go with Herbert, it's going to be deadly, especially as good as they've gotten on defense.
Coming up, the halftime report powered by Ram Trucks. Brent, Houston Nutt, Kevin Carter. He'll be in New York. A look around college football, highlights and scores from around the country, first half stats and analysis from this one as well. Malcolm Perry and company trying to make it 3 touchdowns and 3 drives. Perry launching wide open, incomplete. Looking for Ryan Mitchell. They haven't gone to the air much today. That is the first official pass.
So now we've seen each quarterback get a little bit too geeked up, have too much air on the ball, and miss wide open receivers.
Perry had shown pass once before, but had nothing, and then took off for a 67-yard rushing touchdown. Here he keeps it. He duped a few. Took a shot from Nick Roberts. Then help came late. The whistles blare. A little extra effort thereafter. That's a gain of 8.
Now you're guaranteed to get your offensive line to your rescue when that happens. Ford Higgins, the captain, taking care of his fellow captain. But let's give credit. Picked him up. Didn't slam him down. Smart move.
That was Patrick Macon, former JUCO National Defensive Player of the Year. Nelson Smith, the inside run. That's good for a first down. Could targeting have been part of this contact?
On who? Perry, or the safety?
I would assume Roberts there, because he kind of comes up from below, right?
He's coming
launching
up, but they're both ducking their head.
Right.
That's a dangerous play on both sides, and it's a smart no call. A call that's been called a lot less this year, by the way. 30% less.
That's something you pointed out. Sent over that story earlier today. Perry with a lot of space. The late pitch, that was forward, I think. And Macon gets the bruising contact on Vincent Davis. They get 7, and we go to New York. Appreciate it. Back and forth they go in Seattle.
Jacob Eason, the first quarterback that had to transfer because of Jake Fromm.
And Nelson Smith, that should be good for the first. Looks like a little more than 3. Greg Reeves, Kirk Livingstone, best friends for life, combined on the stop. And here are the numbers in the second. Well, Navy's been great offensively in the second quarter. Charlie Strong's defense, 5th most points allowed in the second quarter. Now, a lot of that, it's still relatively early in the year, Randy. And 49-0 against Wisconsin, a smash right out of the gate, a big part of it for the Bulls.
But stats are now starting to tell the truth.
Right.
We have enough games that they're truthful.
Malcolm Perry swallowed up Tyrone Barber at 6'3", 273. And yet Navy continues to get 2 to 4 yards on its more muted, quieter plays.
And there's an example. The D lineman, the DN, he had the fullback. The linebacker had Perry. And when Perry gets a chance to put that foot in the ground and go forward, you're just not going to stop him for less than 2 or 3 yards.
2nd and 8. USF continues to crowd that box a bit. You can feel the safeties creeping a little more. Perry off the right side. He earns around the 28, so a pickup of about 6. 3rd and 2. Vincent Davis gets the tackle.
And the thing that gets confusing, I think, for a defense, too, is they'd like to think that the fullback is always going to go straight ahead and fake a handoff or take a handoff. That case, Nelson Smith, he ends up being the lead blocker for Malcolm Perry on that last run. So that breaks a key for the defense.
Could this be 4-down territory for Navy and Ken Niumatalolo's team?
Is that part of the field?
Nelson Smith makes it moot. He smashes for another first down. Nick Roberts trips him up. They get 5. And that Navy's running game thwarted early is punishing of late.
Yeah, this is all about Forney and Wright on that left side. Look at the blocking from the left side of the offensive line. They just collapse that side of the USF defense inside. That's why there's so many yards available outside.
David Forney might be coming for Ken Niumatalolo. Backup center Eric Cowell said Forney has amassed a 500-play playbook. Has aspirations to be a coordinator one day. Option pass, C.J. Williams wide open. Touchdown! O.J. Davis, 23 yards, and the trick pass works in a huge way.
Ivan Jasper, the offensive coordinator, watched his quarterback have a wide open receiver, and Malcolm Perry missed him. C.J. Williams on the quick pitch and the halfback option pass. He's not going to miss. Look at Davis come wide open at the top of the screen. Can you blame the corner for coming up a little bit when you see C.J. Williams coming at you? That is the rock and a hard place a defense gets into against this option.
At his first career pass last week against Tulsa, That was 26 yards to Jamel Carruthers. Gets his first touchdown here. And Navy overwhelming South Florida.
So if the receiver looks at you and looks like he's going to block, then suddenly he keeps going, you can't win. You have two choices and they're both wrong.
We play, you know, number 6 team in the country, and our kids play really, really well. You know, Will Worth.
Navy takes the lead.
Our defense.
And a pick 6 for Josiah Powell.
There's so many different guys.
2 points for Navy with the safety.
To be able to beat them was a great, great accomplishment.
Navy has its biggest upset victory in 32 years. We celebrate 150 years of college football. That was Navy's first win over a top 10 team since 1984. And high steps that I don't know if Ken Niumatalolo had shown since the 80s as well.
And a very similar show out of the brigade to 2 weeks ago in that big Air Force win. They just stormed the field. I wasn't sure if Ken Niumatalolo was trying to get away from the brigade or sprinting to the other side to talk to the coach.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Now Ben Fee to kick off after the trick play. 23-yard pass from C.J. Williams to O.J. Davis, the converted linebacker to wide receiver. Bentley Sanders, he could be a game changer on returns. And once again, he's got nothing. The coverage has been great. Ball will be at the 19. Walter Little again, and the Navy defense has been dynamite.
They have been. They started out a little bit rough. They're having a hard time with the pace of this USF offense, but they're starting to figure it out, and they're giving them so many multiple looks. I mean, they're giving them 3 guys on the line of scrimmage. They're showing them 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. They're showing them 6 and rushing 3. A little bit of everything. And look at the rank difference from last season.
Went from one of the worst in America to one of the best. Cronkright. Now, if you're USF, 21-0 margin, you've got to think you try to challenge in the run game, even though Navy has been outstanding against the run all year. 4 on that last play.
The one that's really been impressive this year for this football team is that one right there, the rushing defense. That's been huge, setting up those third downs.
Toss play on 2nd and 6. Trying to spring the football free, but Cronkright protects well against Jacob Springer. Evan Fuckman helps to spin him around. He gets about 5.
And that's a good example of the kind of defense they've had. They attack the ball as a group. It's not just one guy. It's usually 3 or 4 defenders.
Tama Tuatelli, the outstanding freshman, slow to get up. So we will step aside as the athletic trainers check him out. Starting linebacker Tama Tuatelli, the freshman, walking off with help and gingerly after this play.
There's Tuatelli right here. Comes on the back of that play and then sort of got rolled up from the back.
Tuatelli slowed and into the game. Walter Little, who's had a couple of great tackles coverage on special teams, kick coverage today. USF changes it up. Trayvon Sands is in at running back. Sidecar to McLeod, looking for their first 3rd down conversion. And that spot is right around the marker. That's about a yard. That's going to be good to move the chains, and they convert. Diego Fagot the stop.
Fagot running from that backside linebacker position comes through and catches him about a yard late.
And another down to midshipman Dave Tolentino. Slow to get up. Brian Newberry was hopeful they'd have Jackson Perkins back at end. He got banged up a couple of weeks ago against Air Force, but he's out. Denzel Polk is out. Now Tolentino, who rolls in 2nd unit behind Jackson Pittman at nose guard.
Yeah, they're starting to get a little bit thin on that defensive line. And he gets rolled up on by the offensive lineman, who comes right down on the left side of his leg.
It was William Atterbury that rolled into him. And Jackson Pittman 5 tackles in the first quarter today. The nose guard position has been active in thwarting the run game.
Something a little bit different, too, that you don't see real often. Brian Newberry, there's a young defensive lineman. You see guys wear knee braces a lot these days. And that's kind of a play is exactly why you wear those knee braces. It give you that extra lateral support.
Pittman back in, along with the return of Jordan Cronkright in the backfield for the Bulls. Fresh set of downs. Can USF capitalize? Its success early came with its heightened pace.
They're going to have an open man again. Can they hit him?
Stack 2 on the near right. Cronkright doesn't have a whole lot. Earns only about 2 to the 32. Fago and Pittman in there on the contact. Armed Forces football proudly supported by Golden Corral. And Ken Niumatalolo has heaped a ton of praise on Brian Newberry. You know, Jackson Pittman, Jackson Perkins, Jacob Springer. So many of these names were the defense of last year.
Yeah, Pittman's been the fullback dive killer, the inside run killer of this defense.
McLeod checking down. A little bit of happy feet. Does find a target. Gets to around the 37. A pickup of about 5 there. Kevin Brennan gets the stop. Another 3rd down for the Bulls.
The USF got the last one with a quick little run inside. This is not 4-down territory for most any offense in the country, so you got to get it here. And I got to think maybe they're going to throw.
The shark fin for blood in the water. Per the DC, Brian Newberry. Pressure is on. McLeod steps up. And Jordan McLeod's got the 1st down, piercing Navy territory. Probably the biggest play of the game for the Bulls, 20 yards.
You're blitzing, you're rushing, you've got games, and if those guys get too far up the field, McLeod's got the wheels to make you pay, just like Perry did earlier to USF.
Now can they find that rhythm again? Trayvon Sands is subbed in. Haven't heard from Wilcox in a while, the tight end. He releases that ball, squirted free. McLeod hurries a throw that was nearly tipped by Cameron Kinley. The pressure arrived from Jacob Springer. Things hurried up in a hurry.
Yeah, he wasn't throwing this ball away. And Kinley's had really good timing. That ball is on the receiver. Kinley catches that. That might be 6 points.
I see those helmets, by the way, broken out just today. They've sat on them for several years. Charlie Strong surprised the team with these white helmets. First time they've worn them in a game. With the backside pressure, the flip out, Bryce Miller. He's got nothing. He's going to lose a bit here. Pressure from Carter Bankston and Kevin Brennan on the walk-on NAIA transfer.
Yeah, Brennan really doing a nice job. You've got support on the outsides. The first defender to stop him, Brennan, came from the inside with a form tackle. You don't get away from those.
They're going to go empty here.
Got the shark working even in the brigade.
Make that 4 wide. A receiver laid off the field. Navy defense just showing its form. Trayvon Sands in at running back.
Showing 7. Every time they've done this so far, they've brought 3.
McLeod changed it up, just got the snap off, throwing under pressure from Springer. It puts it right on the money. That ball knocked free, incomplete. Lost by Trayvon Sands.
Well, you can't blame McLeod. He's getting the blitz. He's got free runners, and especially Springer. But there's a case. You know, I'm not sure if that ball wasn't brought in and caught before it was knocked out.
That should be a fumble.
He's got the ball there. Then the ball is knocked out of there. Good shoulder into the ball by Fago.
So the punt unit out. Garrett Wynn nestled at his own 10 to return. Schneider has been great. Flag out. Wynn on the roll, lets it plop down. It's going to take a USF roll.
Pretty
the flag is.
Pretty unique formation. It was unique, but was it legal? Did they have enough people in the backfield or on the line of scrimmage? Let's see.
Edwin Lee, our referee, he officiated that wild SMU Tulsa game a few weeks ago. And extended chatter among the officials.
Legal formation. Offense. 5 into the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay 4th down.
You were on it.
Yeah, that's really the only thing it could have been. And it was because it catches your eye. So it not only caught everybody's eye in the stadium, it caught the official's eye. And when you catch an official's eye, he's going to start counting. And in this case, they counted and they didn't see enough.
Catches my eye is the food in the stands from the brigade.
You like that pineapple?
Yeah,
Phil?
I might maybe halftime make my way over.
That's a long walk.
Maybe a trot, jog.
Nah, I know that ain't happening.
That ball gets out of bounds. Got my aerobic activity in already. That was just getting up the steps. Malcolm Perry, he's been getting his running in. Couple of big runs for Navy, out to a 3-score lead on USF. Now let's take a look at the AP poll powered by Ram Trucks. LSU 40 points or more in 9 straight games, but a walk-off field goal. The wild one today, Wisconsin, Illinois.
Yeah, how about that one? Wisconsin losing that game, that is gigantic, especially in that Big Ten, because Wisconsin was going to be the team the way they were looking.
They had crushed USF 49-0 to begin the year, but it's been Perry who has flummoxed the Bulls today.
Well, what he's done has been, it's all been about decisions, and his decisions have been good. He's been tough, but mainly when he's been open, he's been fast.
And that was something that Charlie Strong and his defensive coordinator, Brian Jean-Marie, were somewhat dismissive about, right? They conceded that he's fast, but they thought quick not fast.
Quick and shifty, but not necessarily that fast.
They thought they could contain him on the ground better than they have. And here on the ground, Taj Malloy into the waiting clutches of Mike Hampton. There's 7 yards. The bruising run game for Navy. Already over 200 yards on the ground.
Yeah, the hard thing about a defense playing this football team for Navy is not always, and people complain about cut blocks all the time, but this offense is very, very physical. That sometimes can be the hardest part about playing this offense, is how they relentlessly come after defenses physically.
Can have a wear down effect over the course of the game. Perry changing things up. Got a feel for that play clock. Goes right on back to Taj Malloy. Nelson Smith leading the charge. Tyrone Barber cuts him down after 4. That's good for a first down. And Miles Fells slow to get up.
Well, this offense was testing that left side quite a bit, running behind Forney and company, and now they're trying to see what's going on the right side of this offensive line. See how Nesterowitz and them are doing.
Let's see what happened to Fells. Oh, little.
He's out there blocking and bodies into the back of the legs.
And Malloy was engaged there with Tyrone Barber. Swooped in underneath, but that slot back position, the deepest position for Navy, and it has been for some time.
And in the talent areas for this football team, easily the most willing blockers. Those A-backs love blocking for each other.
1st and 10 out of the gun. Crowded front. Perry loading to throw. Picked off. Intercepted by KJ Sales, and he'll run it back for a touchdown. Flag down, and a second flag joins it.
And a 3rd and a 4th.
Sales, the transfer to the University of North Carolina, with his 2nd pick.
Whatever the infraction was, it was unanimous. 4 different flags all sitting in the same part of the field.
It's a 25-yard run back for the touchdown.
It might just be one of those, like an illegal block to a defenseless player. That happened behind the return.
During the return, personal foul, illegal blind stop block, number 4 for the return team. 15-yard penalty will be 1st and 10 for South Florida.
So they've got the ball, but they lose the TD. Greg Reeves with the illegal block.
Well, Perry, bad decision. Ball is thrown high and sails, makes him pay right into his hands. And a new rule this year right here. Do you see that big block? When the block happens like that and the player's defenseless or really hasn't seen it coming, that's a change this year. It's a new penalty. It's done to protect not only the offensive players in these situations, but also a defensive player that's not expecting the hit and gets blindsided.
That's Perry's first interception. USF is great at turning teams over. Tops in the American, top 5 in the country in turnovers gained. McLeod, plenty of time. The reluctant run. And he slides down.
Yeah, that turnover, though, John, they'll get credit as a defense to go with all their other turnovers, but that's on Malcolm Perry. That ball, he just threw it high, and it got away from him, and it hit Sales right in the chest.
You have no problem with passing there, though, right? That's part of what Navy does now.
It's the new part of the passing game for Navy is something we haven't seen, and that's the accuracy to go with the occasional passes.
2nd and 12. Cronkrite's got nothing. The Navy defense, when it's been given short fields this year, Jackson Pittman now a half-dozen tackles. They have done an outstanding job. They were forced into that early last week against Tulsa.
And sets it right up into the prime kitchen of this defense. And Brian Newberry, their new defensive coordinator. The only down on the field, 3rd down in the game.
Is this 4-down territory in a 3-score game?
I don't think so. I think USF, if they can get a score, would take a score. They've got an inexperienced kicker in Schrader, though.
Their primary man, Kobe Weiss, didn't make the trip, battling a hip ailment. To throw, not in the best of space, and a fierce second hit from Jarius Warren. So 4th down arrives after Eddie McDoom got smashed. They only get 6. And the offense for now on the field. Here comes the kick unit. Beware the fake. Spencer Schrader ran for a score on a fake field goal this year against UConn.
Yeah, he's one of the faster guys on the team, according to Charlie Strong. Went down to Brazil to play a little bit of professional soccer, tried to make that work, but he can go.
Only 1 field goal attempt. He's normally the long field goal man and the kickoff man. And this try is true. So a 33-yard field goal make, but flags as there are words between the teams after the play.
And that's when the flag came in, was after the play, after the kick.
A long dialogue here. Sean Yates was given that thumb point.
The field goal is good. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 99. Correction. Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 99. Navy. That penalty will be forced on the kickoff.
That goes on Jackson Pittman. And Ken Niumatalolo, we asked him, where do you want to see improvement in your team? He said 2 key areas: protecting the football and penalties. And he'll be hot about this.
Right in the middle of the line of scrimmage is where it's happening. And you know what it really was, and if you look at it closely, I think Pittman actually stomped on the opponent.
We'll check in with New York. Appreciate that, Brent. You knew the Tigers would put some points on the board, right? Joe Burrow's having a great year, and Joe Moorhead with Mississippi State. Rumors he's a lead candidate at Rutgers.
That would be all about money if it happened.
As so often it is, right?
Yeah, that's about what it comes down to a lot of the times these days.
So the T for the 50 with a penalty, and that means no chance for Navy to return the kick. But we'll get the offense back on the field for the midshipman, Malcolm Perry, after his first interception thrown of the campaign. Still a 21-3 lead, only 2:43 before half. What are the words to Perry in this offense?
I think deep breaths You got to the sideline. Ivan Jasper, the offensive coordinator, who's now on the sideline. Just look at his quarterback, Malcolm Perry, and just go to whatever the next play is. There aren't any words of consolation. There aren't any words of admonishment. You just go to the next play. Here's what we're going to call. Here's what you have to execute.
Perry. He knew he had to keep it and eat it. Devin Studstill finally finishes him off after a couple.
Watch what happens along the line of scrimmage. Fullback gets taken away. Quarterback gets taken away. Then suddenly the support can come up and take the quarterback out.
The lost yardage there. These are the numbers inclusive of today in that first pick that was run back for a TD by Sales but nullified on the Greg Reeves penalty. Penalties have been a major issue for USF. They've been an issue for Charlie Strong coach teams throughout his time as a head coach. Oh, they duped him. Cooper. And the receiver, who Ivan Jasper said at times runs like Bambi, that at times he doesn't quite have the surest of footing, got upended. He gets 10.
You forget he's only a sophomore. He played last year as a freshman an awful lot. Had some big games last year. That's about how you land when you get flipped up like that.
Big 3rd and 1 here. The inside run for Carruthers. Where do they spot it?
Just past the 35-yard line. Going to be a first down.
They move the chains at a fresh set of downs, so time continues to tick. USF with 3 timeouts, but showing no sign of trying to use one here. And if you're Navy, are you content with this lead? Are you just running the ball? If you break one, you break one?
You would think that, but if I was USF, I would sure as heck be aware of play action pass.
Perry will load up to throw, and he's got an open target. Defender closing! Intercepted! Nick Roberts jumps in front of Ryan Mitchell, and the floated pass, another pick for Perry. His only 2 of the season come in barely a minute plus of game time.
Great job by Roberts coming out of deep center field and undercutting Mitchell. When the ball leaves Perry's hand, it looks like it's going to be a completion because he's throwing it right at his receiver. But Roberts comes out of that deep middle. Mitchell never comes back towards the ball. You got out of the corner of your eye, see that defender come into the ball, maybe stop and play a little defense. And I think that's the point that the Navy coaches were making to their receiver Mitchell when he came to the sideline.
Roberts, who led them in picks last year, gets his 2nd of this campaign. And it shocks me to see the pass when you're up 21-3, because you can allow for plays like that to nearly transpire. Jannard Phillips disrupted by Kevin Brennan. And Randy, it looked like on the sidelines immediately Ken Niumatalolo went up to his wide receiver in Ryan Mitchell and asked him, why didn't you play DB?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Because that's really what happened.
Right.
He had a chance to kind of stop and come to the ball. The ball wasn't going to get to him. That's a learning opportunity.
McLeod designed run here. Cronkite trying to help block for him. Maybe not the best read. So USF with 3 timeouts. 3rd down arrives. The Bulls will call one here and freeze the clock with 43 seconds.
You know, in a lot of ways, and I know they turned the ball over. I don't have any problem with Navy throwing that ball. I mean, they're trying to be equally aggressive as their defense is, I think, in a lot of ways on the offensive side. Now, it's come back and bitten them on the backside a couple of times already today with the interceptions. But not the greatest of passes in either time the ball's been intercepted.
Ken Niumatalolo talking about turnover margin. That's something he wanted to see improve. They entered -1. The Bulls have been a second-half team. Last week against BYU, you saw 2 totally different teams between the Bulls and BYU, first half to second half.
2 different games, first half to second half. USF stormed back. At one point, they're down 13-0. Then they're down 16-7. You know, 9-point leads 2 different times, and they come back. That gave this team a lot of confidence.
Can McLeod complete a big throw?
McDoom's the long play guy.
Swinging out. Cronkrite, he's got the first, helping to veer out of bounds with Michael McMorris. So they get 4, 38 seconds, 2 timeouts. Their usual primary place kicker, Colby Weiss, did not make the trip. Spencer Schrader is their long kicker. Charlie Strong says he has a lot of confidence in from great distances, over 60.
About 20 yards away from, 52, 53-yard territory for a kick.
McLeod trying to check down, decides to run, and slides near the marker. Where do they spot this? Looks like it's going to be just short by about 1.5 yards. So you got to call timeout here, 27 seconds.
Yeah, there's a learning experience. You talk about learning experience from McLeod. You have to know the time and the place. You have to know the situation. In this situation, I got to think Kerwin Bell is making the point to his young quarterback. Sliding's okay, but sliding down.
There have been highs and lows on the other side for Navy as well. Malcolm Perry has been great, and he's had some low points.
Yeah, the greatness has come with his feet, and the low points have come with his arm. First, the interception that turned into a touchdown that wasn't, and then the interception in the middle of the field. Just didn't get the ball up and out fast enough to get the ball to Mitchell.
So his first 2 picks of the year, but that was a huge penalty by Reeves. Keep in mind for the Bulls, who had 11 penalties last week against BYU. That's about half of Navy's season-long total. In his head coaching career, Charlie Strong's teams, 29th most penalties in the FBS. That's in the bottom quarter of college football. 2nd and 2, 1 timeout. McLeod, intercepted. Not even close to his target. Shaylin Garnes, the true freshman, steps in and picks it off.
When you talk about deep center field, the young freshman saw the quarterback eyeballing that receiver going down the hash mark. You eyeball a receiver, and a DB's back there playing deep middle, right there at the bottom of the screen. He's going to close to where you're looking, and he looks right, undercuts the receiver, and gets himself a pick.
And that's 6 interceptions thrown by McLeod. And clearly he's not 100% physically, right?
No, he's not. If it's not the wrist, it's probably mainly the shoulder. The wrist has gotten, he said, almost completely better.
And a little gun shy here. Navy, 24 seconds. Let that clock roll. They want no part of another play here.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And so halftime will arrive. Navy will have the ball to begin the second. The Midshipmen had won the toss and deferred. But Ken Niumatalolo certainly has some teaching points, and McLeod has a ball in the air that he'd like to have back. How will they adjust? The Bulls were great after the break last week. Navy largely owns the first. When we're back, it's New York City. Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, Kevin Carter on CBS Sports Network.
CBS Sports Network Halftime Report powered by Ram Trucks.
Halftime in Annapolis. Welcome in. Brent Stover alongside Kevin Carter. Houston Nutt as well. All Navy at home, 21-3. Coach trying to get to 5-1 and 3-1 in the American.
I've been really impressed with Navy's defense. Malcolm Perry threw a couple interceptions, put him in a bad spot, but the defense answered the call. But Malcolm Perry, the offensive line, trying to stop this triple option is awfully tough. And you think about Malcolm Perry so much because he's so fast, but it's the very first read. Here's the fullback. Who has the fullback, Kevin?
Assignment football, coach. No one has it.
Nobody. And he outruns everyone. And this is Carruthers running all the way to the end zone. Big play.
C.J. Williams does have a touchdown pass in the game as well. He has gotten a snap or two, a quarterback for Navy. They're up by 18. Second half of our game, 21-3, Navy just keep going about their business.
Yeah, if the Bulls are going to have any chance in this one, they better have a heightened sense of responsibility of taking care of the run. 220 yards on the ground, 90 of it by Malcolm Perry.
Offense, you better stop the fullback, Malcolm Perry, the quarterback, and the tailback. Responsibility. But if South Florida can score early, come on.
Changes things.
Navy an opportunity to get to 5-1, 3-1 in the American. Second half from Annapolis with John, Randy, and Sheehan's next.
This has been the CBS Sports Network Halftime Report, powered by Ram Trucks.
Back in Annapolis, second half moments away. 21-3, Navy the lead at the break. John Sadak alongside the Hall of Famer in Randy Cross. Well, the score tells a lot of the story. What did you see?
Well, I saw a Navy team that was running the ball very effectively. Got some big plays out of the running game. Got a USF team right now that isn't much of a threat offensively and isn't playing terrible on the defensive side of the ball. If I was USF, I would run the ball a lot more. I'd try to control the ball, and I would tackle a lot better. Because if they made 2 or 3 more tackles, this would be a 7-3 game. But it's not an if and a maybe game. It's what they did, and what they did was they let Malcolm Perry and company run for over 200 yards in that first half.
Malcolm Perry did throw his first 2 picks of the season, though. And they each came in the late stage of the stanza. First half stats brought to you by Polaris. A giant disparity on the ground there, my friend.
Yeah, there is. And really unusual for a Navy football game. USF has an edge on the time of possession.
And that in part thanks to a few third down conversions in the later stage of the half. Here's the boot. Chance Warren loses the football. Fair catch call there. Warren had a bobble on a kick return to begin last week. As we check in with Sheehan for word from the head coaches.
Well, guys, Charlie Strong from USF was very frustrated leaving the field. Just thought they had to play better both sides of the ball, stop Navy's offense, and really just make the plays, make the throws. Navy's Ken Niumatalolo thought the defense has been playing lights out, wants to continue their play in the second half. But offensively, he needs to finish. And in regard to those interceptions and Malcolm Perry, he said, we just need to execute better.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. And we get word there was a penalty there and an offsides on the kick for USF.
So they'll move that kick
back up. Yeah.
Back to the 30-yard line, and they'll do it over again.
And we never saw a flag actually hit the field.
Please set the game clock to 14:57.
But there was a penalty, and 3 seconds have ticked off. Ken Niumatalolo was irate. He was storming down the sidelines right after Chance Warren lost the football. And now he's got some words for his young returner who races over to Niumatalolo. And Charlie Strong has seen penalties mar his campaign, 121st in the country out of 130 teams. He's been flagged almost 9 times a game. Another chance for Chance Warren and Miles Fells.
But they've also done what they do well, and that's turn the opponent over. They've got a couple of turnovers off of Navy.
There's another fair catch wave. Chance Warren and his offense will take the ball gladly at the 25. So Malcolm Perry without a completion, 2 picks. He does have 98 yards on the ground. Randy, what's his quarterback rating?
Right, roughly about minus 111.
It has not been pretty.
They like to rub it in back in the old quarterback rating room.
If you're Ivan Jasper, do you try to build more confidence and still incorporate the pass game when you normally would, or do you just run?
I come out in this formation and I challenge my offensive line and my offense in general, including my wide receivers, to block their tails off.
Toss play, Taj Malloy. Malloy takes a few bulls for a ride. Patrick Macon, Greg Reeves finally disrupt after 12. Here's a look at what Navy did with the football in the first.
Good example of what they could do, and it was a big play offense. One of the reasons the time of possession was down as much as it was. But that first play is exactly what Ivan Jasper and Ken Niumatalolo want their offense to do. And that's flatten a few face masks and run the ball and be aggressive.
Perry with a flag down. The second flag joins it. He's chipped down by KJ Sales, who was one of the 2 picks. There was one flag near side, a second far side. Looks like a shift.
Yeah, a little early motion.
Legal shift. 2 men moving. Begin to reset. Navy. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
And remember, Ken Niumatalolo told us this week, sharpening up on penalties. They have been top 2 in the country. Fewest flags per game and yards every year but one under Ken Niumatalolo.
And normally they move their A-backs, their running backs, a lot. That time they both moved at the same time in opposite directions.
And now they're not getting flagged a ton, but in contrast,
it's unusual for them. It's unusual for them to be like this in penalties and yards. Very unusual.
1st and 15, that's its own encumbrance for Navy as well. Did not sell that fake. There was nobody home. So USF easily able to swallow up Kevin Kegler, Dwayne Boyles Jr. And Kegler, who did not play last week, but is great against the option.
Yeah, that's not a happy Ken Niumatalolo. Obviously, the fullback, Mr. Smith, went the wrong way.
So Jamel Carruthers takes his spot as the deep fullback. And that's where Navy could be prone. Carruthers still getting his footing as a fullback. Perry shakes off a paw, second hit. Forward progress thwarted, still no whistle. Finally it comes. He got to the 40. Antonio Greer Jr. denies, gain of 6. There is a flag down, back of the play.
Somewhere in that scrum during that attempted tackle, and there's a USF player down.
KJ Sales, starting corner.
Had that interception earlier. First interception Michael Perry threw.
There is no foul for a face mask on the play. Timeout for injury.
They tend to Sales. Leads the team to the pass breakups, was granted immediate eligibility days before the season started. Did not have to sit, transferring in from North Carolina. He transferred to be closer to his 2-year-old son King after the sudden death of his great-grandmother Loretta, who played a large role in raising him and his sister.
Watch this attempted tackle right here. He grabs the shoulder, not the face mask. But from the backside where the flag first came, I could see where the official might have thought that was a face mask. Great job by the officials, though, conferring on the guys that really saw it and taking that flag and picking it up.
Well, Sales gets tended to. This is Navy's longest yards to gain on 3rd down of the day. It had been averaging 3rd and 2, needing 7. Perry to the air. That's been dangerous, forced to run. That's been successful, and Perry tripped up at midfield, has the 1st down. He gets 10 yards.
When you're a defense and you're in any form of man where you've got receivers and DBs running together, man, you got to feel bad for a linebacker when you're one-on-one with Malcolm Perry with the quicks that he has. I mean, that was an amazing one-on-one lack of a tackle. Greer got embarrassed.
Perry over 100 yards, decides to turn this one up and squeaks through, and then runs into Devin Studstill, the Notre Dame transfer. That's a gain of 9.
Hitting that right side with Nesterwitz and company, getting a nice double team, turning the defensive end, turning out the outside backer. Almost makes that play, number 55, coming from that inside linebacker position. You get those combination blocks coming off like that, you're going to get yards.
If you stay in step with the philosophy, you might throw here. But a little more gun shy. Carruthers has nothing. No gain. Greg Reeves, another tackle, so 3rd and short arrives.
Well, this is definite fourth down material. This is 2 downs right here. You're past the 50-yard line. Would surprise no one, Charlie Strong included, if Ken Niumatalolo, if he doesn't get the 1st down here, goes for it on 4th.
USF, though, the masters of the tackle for loss. Over 10 per game, tops in America.
But if you attack this offense, you risk giving up another one of those great big runs up the middle.
Navy has a couple of runs for over 50 yards that have gone for scores. Perry just trying to slip through. He gets smashed by Jason Vaughn, the true freshman at end, but he gets 2 yards there. That's going to move the chains for a 1st down. Armed Forces Football, proudly sponsored by USAA. Ken Niumatalolo sees his team get the conversion. Carruthers remains in at fullback, the top rushing team in America by yards.
And this is the kind of drive that you associate with the option offense, and specifically with Navy. That's just a grinded, brutal, efficient drive.
Ball on the ground. Perry lost it. Punch free. Bulls pounce. Greg Reeves has the football. Another turnover, the third of the game taken away by USF.
Now 2 interceptions, you're going to say, well, they don't throw the ball that often. That could happen. You want to see a football coach lose their mind? Look at an option coach after their offense puts the ball on the ground right there with that between the quarterback and the fullback. Neither of them handles the ball and it ends up on the ground.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. By the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2019 Truck of the Year. And by Chick-fil-A's new mac and cheese. It's both cheesy and crispy on top. Need we say more?
Hot round, crab cakes, football. Maryland does it, our crew loves it. The Boatyard Bar and Grill here in Annapolis, 80,000 crab cakes a year. And it feels like 80,000 turnovers gained by USF today.
Yeah, very, very sort of atypical when it comes to a Navy offense, turning the ball over twice by interception. But then to put it on the ground like that with a mishap between Carruthers, the young fullback, and Perry.
Can USF capitalize? Jordan McLeod, the delayed handoff, and Navy sniffed that out. Cronkrite's got nothing. Jacob Springer, the tackle. So Navy entered -1 turnover differential on the year, -2 today, but 3 giveaways thus far, Randy. Only 3 points for the Bulls on those turnovers. Ken Niumatalolo wants to see that shored up. It was a point of emphasis for him this week. It's worsened today. The run game, Cronkrite spun into Diego Fago, gets about 4. The defense, though, for USF has been dynamite.
It's been very good at times. They've had a problem tackling in a couple instances, and that's cost them 14 points. But if they had just some offensive efficiency, this would be a lot closer game. Average to go 7 yards. That means you got to throw. And that means your quarterback has got to find a way to be more accurate.
Big reason why they are just 3 of 9 on 3rd down. McLeod 9 of 16 for 34 yards. Cronkrite runs right through it. And a touchdown saving tackle by Kevin Brennan as Cronkrite bursts through the Navy D.
How about that on the left side of that USF defense or offense? Jennings and Harris, Cecil at the center. He was 10 yards down the field before Navy knew he was gone.
25 yards, longest play of the day for USF, but an incomplete pass to the wide open Bryce Miller as we journey to New York City. Could have an upset brewing in the Pac-12. Appreciate that.
The Huskies are the bane of the Ducks' existence in games like this.
Well, a dog would beat a duck in a fight, right? Go with the old Balky Bartokomous theory.
Every time.
Navy showed pressure. They do bring some. They throw toward that pressure. Randall St. Felix veered out of bounds by Walter Little as we check in with Sheehan after that gain of 6.
Guys, a quick update on Tama Tuatele on Navy's defense. We saw him injured in the first half. He left with a left knee injury. He re-entered this second half with a knee brace on and crutches. He's on the sideline. He will not be returning, obviously.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. So we see Walter Little, 35. He's the backer on the top of the screen, who's been taking most of those snaps. 3rd and 5. Seems surprised by the snap. McLeod, pressure in his face. Dangerous ball, incomplete. Jump ball between St. Felix and Kinley. Well, 4th down, what do you do?
That looked like a misstriking typewriter, if you remember what a typewriter looks like. About 4 keys going not in unison.
The man with a telegram from Doc Brown told me about this typewriter thing. Jordan Cronkrite back in. 4th down try here for the Bulls.
Cronkrite's been your best offense today, but it's still probably going to be a pass.
Everybody tight to the line for Navy. McLeod changing the play. Bit of a low snap. McLeod, tip ball, incomplete. looking for Jannard Phillips. Evan Fuckman was in the area. Navy holds on 4th down.
Navy defense does what they've done so far this year, and that's bail out the offense on that turnover. Turns back USF on a 4th down play.
Ken Niumatalolo and company turn over the redshirt freshman. Navy on top 21-3 over USF, the Grand Vista of Annapolis. We have 56 days to go in the countdown to America's game, the Army-Navy game presented by USAA on CBS Sports. Philadelphia, the longtime site. It'll hold it on December the 14th. Could the CIC be decided that day? Navy's already taken down Air Force. Falcons still have to play Army. And Navy-Army, that could be the tipping point. Mids haven't beaten the Black Knights since 2015. That's the last time they had the CIC, the Commander-in-Chief's trophy.
Do yourself a favor if you've never been to an Army-Navy game. Just go to one. Just start at one.
An absolute must. Here the punishing inside contact. Patrick Macon with the rude greeting of Nelson Smith. Couple of yards, and there is the offensive coordinator, Ivan Jasper. What's running through his head?
Well, you see those furrows on his brow? You've got a line for every turnover in the last 3 or 4 possessions. You got 1 for the fumble and 2 for the 2 for the interceptions.
3 giveaways for Navy today, all from Perry. Nelson Smith, physical bruising run. Patrick Macon, another pop, picks up 4 there. And Brian Jean-Marie's defense for USF has been equal to the task. A defense that ranks 3rd in the country in defensive mayhem. That's per Sports Source Analytics. That's tackle for loss, sack, INT, or fumble.
That's an official category. Mayhem?
Mayhem.
I thought that was a commercial.
That's a little bit of both. Timeout here from Navy. And it does feel a bit like the offense has been rear-ended at times. Well, they can solve a cleat issue for Nelson Smith with 3rd and 4 on the horizon.
Well, he comes off the ground, and when he comes off the ground, his foot comes off the ground, but the foot stays in the defender's arms.
That cleat flying free for Nelson Smith. Ken Niumatalolo, he's been on the headset a lot this year. He's been a lot more engaged with the team, play to play. Certainly a fiery, emotional coach whose love for his team is supreme and who has grand respect for Charlie Strong on the other sideline. That's a mutual admiration. And you noted at the American Athletic Conference Media Days in multiple years, those are the only 2 coaches you always saw at the gym.
Yeah, when I'm in the gym earlier, before everything starts, Charlie and Ken would be the guys every single year. They'd be the ones in the gym early getting that workout in.
3rd and 4. Let's see how this one works out. Perry had nothing. And he is down. Greg Reeves, a great game. Ball free, but the whistles blared. Play was dead. He was down.
Yeah, as Brian Jean-Marie told us, we're going to have assignments. One guy's got the fullback. Other guy's got the quarterback. And there's Reeves. And Reeves said a lot of the time, I'm going to have the quarterback. And I'm not going to let him out of my sight, and I'm not going to let him out of my arms. Mission accomplished there.
KJ Sales, remember, he was rattled and visited by athletic trainers. He's also the primary punt returner. He is out there here for USF. Owen White gets it off cleanly. Wobbling down, Sales the fair catch, rips it in. Bulls will begin at their own 22. They need to show the pass game. Can the life come from Jordan McLeod, the redshirt freshman, as we have a flag here?
Flag right above the end in the middle of the field, right about the 48-yard line.
During the kick, holding from 88, return team. 10-yard penalty, into the kick, 1st down, timeout.
So the penalty on Chris Carter at tight end, and we'll step away.
Wow, how about Joe Burrow at LSU? But Oregon, slowly but surely, they're coming down. Jacob Eason will have an answer for him, though.
That only loss for Oregon by 6 points to Auburn to kick off the year. Bulls starting this drive thanks to penalty backed up to their own 12. Kelly Joyner Jr. hasn't been on the field much, gets a rare touch and gets helped out of bounds in part by Cameron Kinley. But what can USF do? They get 11 yards on that run, but they have a lot of points to make up here.
They just need to start with one score, one touchdown, one drive. You're not going to score 18 points in one play.
And the keeper, McLeod, spun down by Nizer Cromartie, gets 3 yards. Charlie Strong spoke of the impact of the season-opening loss to Wisconsin, 49-0. He thought that had a ripple effect on his young team. They didn't understand and appreciate how good Wisconsin was, and it took time for the confidence to arrive. Joyner motions into the backfield. Joyner, nothing. That'll be a yard. So 3rd and longer. Paul Carruthers another stop, and it comes down to McLeod's got to complete at least some intermediate passes, right?
Well, that's been the hard part about what he's done. Even when he's hit his receivers, they haven't caught it, and they've coughed it up. But here at 3rd and long, you've got to figure Brian Newberry, the defensive coordinator from Navy, is going to do one or two things. Give him something exotic, or another one of those 3 guys rush, 8 guys drop, and you stay in front of the sticks.
4 of 11 on 3rd down. Low snap, McLeod. He has Cronkite underneath, takes a bigger chance downfield. It connects for a 1st down. You called it during break, partner. Mitchell Wilcox, the tight end, the best NFL prospect on this team, didn't have a catch, gets the 1st.
Lined up on the left side of the screen, working against Jacob Springer. Just comes back over in between the zone and does a nice job settling in the hole.
Picks up 11. Now the inside run for Cronkite. That'll muscle for about 4. Dave Tolentino gets the stop. How do you want them to use Wilcox? How can they achieve greater success with him as he jogs off here?
Just go for matchups. If they can get a linebacker on him, heck, even if you get Springer on him, if they're going to play any kind of zone, a good tight end like Wilcox can find that middle part of the field for those 10, 11, 12-yard gains.
Maybe a late adjustment just got Cromartie off the field. McLeod changing things up some.
Plenty of time, don't rush.
Little showing blitz. He comes. And McLeod gets spun, keeps his footing, hit. And that's an incomplete pass.
Is that a pass or was that knocked out from behind?
Now the call on the field, the immediate flail, palms down, indicating incomplete. Walter Little helped knock it free. You can see the helmet ajar still on McLeod.
Watch Little coming in. Look at that right hand coming in to chop it. Yep, hand going forward, ball in the hand. It was getting chopped, but nice job by McLeod of keeping contact with that thing and pushing it forward for an incomplete pass.
3rd and 6. Trayvon Sands checks in. He was a high school quarterback. 3-man front. Sands running left. Sands shrugs off the initial contact of Fagot, but he got enough of him to take him down. He earns 10 and a 1st down.
This is a very nice job going off that left side, getting 3 really nice blocks. That is excellent by Donovan Jennings, left tackle.
1st and 10. Rush yards still greatly favor Navy. The pressure comes. Carruthers in his grill. McLeod down. Jacob Springer gets to the QB along with Jackson Pittman. That'll be a loss of 4 and a sack.
Well, Donovan Jennings, the left tackle, does a nice job. The problem is inside, you're getting a lot of penetration, and Springer turns into a free runner.
He leads Navy in tackles for loss and sacks on the year. That's 3 sacks for Navy today, Randy.
And you look at that enthusiasm of a guy like Carruthers, too. He loves to feast on quarterbacks that are just about 50% throwers. You know he'll be standing in the pocket. He'll be available.
50% in just 50 yards and 22 attempts. McLeod pressured, and he's down again. Springer there, ball free. three. Bulls fall upon it. Springer helped knock the football free.
I think Springer gave that chop to the quarterback's right arm as he was going through. Coming right there. There's Springer with that right arm. There's the ball going. Man, remember back in the day, Lawrence Taylor made that a move everybody has to have. Now they all have it.
Loss of 10. Marcus Norman fell on the football. You see the glove employed by McLeod, whose hand was so weak last week he couldn't grip the football, according to coordinator Kerwin Bell.
A sore wrist, bleeding and swelling down into the middle of his hand. That's why he couldn't grip it. Timeout, USF.
They had issue getting personnel back on the field, facing 3rd and 24. And Navy has been harassing McLeod this drive.
Well, remember, John, you're talking about a guy with a bad shoulder and a bad wrist. He's getting that thing whacked a lot. Not helping, he's getting some bad snaps and dropping some snaps. But they're making him pay for it.
And you've got to think the health is a giant part of it. A young man who comes from great pedigree. His brother Ray, star receiver at Clemson, time in the NFL, was waived by the Panthers this week, but picked up by the team that drafted him, the Bills, on the practice squad. When he watched his brother play, he wound up watching a lot of Deshaun Watson. And he told us the biggest thing he took from watching Watson, the need and the success rate of getting rid of the football quickly. That, Randy, I don't know if he's healthy enough to do that.
I'd break those tapes back out and revisit some of that getting rid of the ball. I mean, he looks like he can throw to a degree,
right?
But he's having to hold the ball so long, staring at his receivers.
Motion by Joyner. Give it to him on a jet sweep. Oh, what a hit! Smash shy of midfield by Kevin Brennan. He gets 11, but at significant cost, and he'll be short by a ton.
Yeah, Kevin Brennan showing you how you tackle. Shoulder, hips, accelerate the feet. Here's the shoulder, there's the hips. That's a form tackle. That's perfectly done by Brennan.
That is the hit of the game so far. And third quarter fading away. You're going to send the ball back to Navy. Do you run a fake? If you want a prayer of winning this game, you got to do something, right? Straight kick. Garrett Wynn, with a bull right near him, gets a few yards. Navy's offense back to the field. Springer had 2 career sacks entering the day. He's got 3 in the game, and Brennan a big hit. Tomorrow, the NFL on CBS is at Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers of the Packers host the Raiders. A key AFC South clash, Texans and Colts. All begins with JB and the guys. They get you set in the NFL today, noon Eastern on CBS. The Get 6 chain new to the Navy sidelines. For more, let's check in with Sheehan.
We have been hearing a lot about Get 6. You see the chain right there. Each game, Newberry challenges his defense to get 6 of any combination of certain impacts defensive plays. A 3-and-out, 4th down stop, or a turnover. And right now, they've got 4, but they found that 6 is that magic number. Navy Sports and Information Director Scott Strassmeyer charted all the wins in Ken Niumatalolo's tenure, and they found out that 6 was that magic number to secure a win. In Navy's only loss this year, they had 5, but they're on the right track right now.
Appreciate that, Sheehan, and that chain that debuted in the conference opener against ECU. The brainchild of P.J. Volker. First used it as a prop to lock down opposing players. Movement for Navy here. And then Austin Talbert Loving found the more grandiose chain used today.
False start, number 76, offense. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
Goes on left tackle, Kendall Wright.
Just overall offensively, not a real disciplined day for Navy. They're so fortunate that the other offense can't do much.
They could with a shorter field, protecting the football paramount here. Malcolm Perry against the grain, ripped through Macon. The second hitter there, Mike Hampton, finally takes care of him, pickup of 10. If he had eluded Hampton, he'd have a score.
Well, you're talking about running here, and then you go that way. Look at that jump cut. You don't draw him up like that. That's entirely the imagination of Malcolm Perry.
Nelson Smith into his own man, but that second push, Kirk Livingstone goes for a ride. He'll pick up 8. Ivan Jasper said it from jump when Malcolm Perry first became the Navy quarterback, that he reminds him of no other midshipman. Randy, so often the offense can be a bit of plug and play, right? There have been a lot of players progressively that mature and fit in. Perry's just different.
He's got such speed. He's got such quickness. They need all of the above to finish off this drive.
Flag out.
I think he had a quick move.
Start. Number 73. Offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
2 penalties on the Navy offensive line for movement on this possession.
That will do nothing but drive your coach crazy, and it makes the defensive coordinator, Brian Jean-Marie, feel a lot better. Gives you a little bit longer field, longer downs. That's always good for defense.
Later pitch by Perry. Macon gets Williams up top and then gets some help from Reeves. And I gotta think Navy will let these final seconds fade and surge on to the 4th.
Oh, absolutely they will. And hope for a brutal, efficient, long drive finished off here in the beginning of the 4th quarter.
And Charlie Strong's team held to a field goal through 3. The 4th quarter underscored by Niumatalolo and company all week. We head to the final frame. We are spoiled. An outstanding crew, some amazing shots from today. The game summary brought to you by Grow with Google. What stands out to you, Randy?
Yeah, I think the turnovers have to stand out big time on the Navy side. Otherwise, no telling how many more points they'd have in this game. But it's been sloppy so far for Navy, really on both sides of the ball. Some highlights on the defensive side, but the last 2 quarters have been pretty sloppy for the offense.
Malcolm Perry, a fumble lost. He's thrown 2 picks. He's 0 for 3 passing. Inside run, Nelson Smith. Vincent Davis goes for a ride of an extra yard or so. They pick up the first. 10 yards.
Yeah, that's just what the doctor ordered for Ken Niumatalolo in this offense. You're not going to see much fancy. You're not going to see the window dressing. You're just going to see the basic option football. Tight formation and a lot of coming off the ball.
Perry lets C.J. Williams block, but Sales stays with him. What a job by K.J. Sales, and a flag, extra contact after he had do-si-doed him out of bounds.
Yeah, it's a good job getting him out of bounds. It was not a good job giving him that throw once he was over on the white of the sideline.
Picked up 6, but tack it on with the flag. It'll be 7 on USF.
After the play. Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 9. Defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
Well, 7 penalties for 60 yards against the Bulls today.
Now, what do you do with a break like that? You've got to finish. You've got to learn to finish as a football team, something that Navy did great 2 weeks ago when they played Air Force. They finished that game. Their goal is to win the second half and learn to consistently finish.
Nelson Smith has finished his runs well, this time into the clutches of Patrick Macon. They get 4. This is a USF team that against conventional offense does great behind the line of scrimmage. Leading the FBS at the start of the week at over 10 tackles for loss per game, 2 today.
Yeah, they had 62 coming in today. They had a couple of games where they just dominated.
Perry. And he can explode. That's another first down. Another stop for Macon with help from Vincent Davis.
But the problem with being an attacking defense is you spend a whole week getting ready to play this option. You know, and as Charlie Strong told us, you're teaching your guys almost the exact opposite of what you've taught them every other week. You've taught them attack, attack, attack. And then suddenly for the Navy and for this option, you're saying, all right, I want you to look, I want you to read and react. It's hard to turn that on and off. And you've seen the result. They've at times have done really well with this option. At other times, they've read and they've sat. And when they've sat, they've paid for it.
They just get it off in time. Perry looking for his first completion. Instead has to run. Malcolm Perry turns a have to into a touchdown. 21 yards. Pure playmaker.
That's improv skills. That's when you go see like a great comedian that's an improv guy that can come off and riff on anything. Well, that's exactly what Malcolm Perry is as a runner. He's an improving comedian. He can do just about anything he wants. It's quickness and it's speed, and he's so unpredictable. It's tough for a defense to anticipate where he's going to be.
Whose touchdown is it anyway? It's Malcolm Perry's.
I know what you see what you did there.
Point after is good. The cannon fires. We'll have to settle for that instead of the rim shot.
Yeah, this is a gifted young man. This is a pretty good option offense, but this is something you can't game plan for. Those cuts, that quickness, that's God-given.
Time now for our Chick-fil-A fan cam. And thank you, Cal, for outfitting everybody. Oh, enjoying the deliciousness.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like your pickles on there, or do you like it all?
Oh, with them.
Yeah?
With a little mayo, a little sweet tea. I'm not a real honey mustard guy.
See, here's the next level for me. I like the mayo also with the waffle fries.
You got a problem.
I got a lot of problems.
I can't go with you on there.
So Malcolm Perry, his 33rd career rushing touchdown. He's tied Craig Candido, entered the top 5 in Navy history in that category, a 28-3 lead. And what was really a broken play, it was designed to be a pass. He had nothing. Sprints for a score. Bentley Sanders can run, but he's going to take the fair catch. And let's take a look at the up and down of Malcolm Perry's afternoon.
Well, he's had a lot of good when it's come to running. He's got 170 yards rushing. He's got 2 touchdowns, and he's been dangerous. But throwing the ball, that bad one was right into Mr. Sales' arms. He threw it over the middle to Mitchell that he got out there a little bit late. And then he and Carruthers just miscommunicated on that handoff. So he's probably had a little bit of a hand on everything offensively, good and bad.
And the hand from McLeod might be part of his troubles, along with the stinger in his shoulder. The snaps haven't been the greatest. That was a direct snap that it looked like McLeod thought he should have. Carruthers gets a piece of Jordan Cronkrite. They get 4 yards there. What happened?
Not sure where exactly Cecil, the center, was putting that one. It's almost like he put it right in between the quarterback and the running back and made him fight for it.
Out of the pistol, Navy defensive line adjusts and shimmies. On the draw. And Cronkrite doesn't have much. The stop by Austin Talbert Loving and Jarius Warren as we journey to New York. Coming down to it. Thank you, Brent. A field goal affair. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, nothing surprised me when Washington and Oregon play. But this is Oregon's season. Don't be fooled. They got to win this.
McLeod, who has all day behind and off target to Bryce Miller. The young man can't be healthy, Randy.
Well, we know he's got a bad shoulder, and we know he's got a bad wrist. And it happens to be his throwing arm, by the way. And not particularly accurate right now. But the reality is he is their best option. That's where he is. I mean, that's where this football team is. It's not like Charlie Strong is playing him because he really wants to. He has to play McLeod.
They only have one quasi-healthy scholarship quarterback, and that's McLeod. Wynn did not call for the fair catch, so he's fair game. And he is down after the contact from Eugene Bowman.
Having said that, though, I got to think Kirk Rigel, the backup quarterback, might get a shot here.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Grow with Google, proud to support veteran-led business. By The Exchange, welcoming home all honorably discharged veterans to their online shopping benefit. And by Today's Military. Your child's success tomorrow begins with your support today. Visit todaysmilitary.com to learn more.
How cool is that? That is today's flyover. The eyes in the sky, the gunslingers out of Naval Air Station Oceana. Both pilots today, Navy grads, Commander Alex Armadas, class of 02, and wingman Lieutenant Commander Brian Jones, class of 07. Not that, BJ. I fret to think what your cold-hearted inside of college football would do in a jet.
Yeah, I know. But, you know, thank God to the ladies and gentlemen of our military in this country and for everything they do.
We are blessed for their presence in many ways. Malcolm Perry, the flip. And Navy has just worn down this USF team. C.J. Williams pierces beyond the 30. 11 yards. So here's the numbers and what Navy's done on the ground as Darius Slade gets that stop.
Yeah, remember, this is the #1 rushing team in the country. I got to think with a successful drive here, this will be Malcolm Perry's last drive of the day. They get back up Perry Olsen in here, let him run a little bit.
Misdirection to Carruthers. Instead, they bounce it outside with C.J. Williams. Patrick Macon trips him up. They get 9. A midshipman slow to get up here.
And
as Michael Cooper.
As we've seen often, Macon coming out of the middle of that defense for USF, that linebacker, another nice play going sideline to sideline.
And there's Cooper, Navy's largest wide receiver by physical stature, and arguably its most impactful. They showed a couple of big-time catches in the Air Force game. A young man that Ivan Jasper said is an academy killer that he expects a lot from when they face Army later in the year.
Well, he had a big game last year. And a play like that, you see him immediately grab his midsection. Not sure if that wasn't just the air getting knocked at him. Hopefully Cooper's going to be okay. That's 6'5", 215-pound wide receiver that can run and go. He played great against Army last year. Had a real big game against Air Force just 2 weeks ago.
I love when we had a chance to chat with the starting corner for Navy, Michael McMorris, at 5'9", 165. Asked him, how do you do when the ones face the ones? He said, me and Coop, it's about 50-50. Inside run here for Carruthers, and this is the building cumulative effect of what Navy's done offensively, right? Greer gets the stop.
Well, this is also what we fully expected them to do in the second half.
Right.
They had the fumble, but this is this offense in kind of its full glory. No threat of a pass. 4 on first, 4 on second, 4 on third, first down, let's start over. And occasionally they'll pop a 30-40 on you.
They've done that a few times today. Nearly to midfield here. Another inside run. USF felt that one coming. And still it's 3 yards. Kelvin Pinkney gets to the denial. Gain of 3.
And that's what makes this so tough on this defense. And USF as a defense, it's hard to say has played well, giving up 367 yards rushing. But at times, they've done about all they could against this offense. Right now, they've just gotten worn down.
2nd and 7. Sales fades back. The pitch. They go to the boundary side. And helped by Vincent Davis to knock him out of bounds. Here's the landscape in the West. SMU unblemished, taking on Temple. Tulane, a big one against Memphis to come tonight.
And that's where Navy was picked, down there at the bottom of the West. And what they've done so far this year has kind of defied the experts to where they are on their way right now to 5-1.
Ken Niumatalolo's team takes on Willie Fritz's Tulane squad next week. Inside run with a fullback. That'll be good for another first down.
Now Tulane is next week. I'll be the first one to admit that to you. But Ken Niumatalolo knows full well, you play like this, you have this many mistakes against Willie Fritz's Tulane team, you're going to have a serious issue.
Cincinnati and Temple own the top of the East. We still have UCF to come against ECU later tonight here on the network.
Temple taking on SMU.
Unblemished. Carruthers hit by Pinkney. A couple of yards there. Now this Navy squad receiving votes in the coaches poll. Tulane is the top team receiving votes in the AP top 25. Memphis is in that group as well. Power 6, part of the initiative from the commissioner Mike Oresco, trying to champion the cause for the American to be in the conversation with the traditional power leagues. Perry lost his footing some, flag down. And was trailing the play right near the line of scrimmage.
That came from the umpire, the official, so my guess on that is it's probably an illegal block, a little chop block on the backside or holding.
Holding, number 73, offense. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay second down.
Peter Nestrowitz. So when Ken Niumatalolo breaks down this tape, among the many things he's going to want to fix, a lot of penalties on the O-line today.
Well, you just look at the penalties and the turnovers. I mean, Nestrowitz going and basically made a tackle on the nose guard. That reach out and that tackle is what they called holding. But you just look at the penalties and the turnovers. You know, you've got Coach Newberry on the other side, has his get 6. Add up the mistakes on the offense. That many mistakes can cost you a game easy.
Perry taken off. This is where he has changed the game today. Got some extra yards thanks to a block from C.J. Williams.
But good luck. You know, we've seen Greer be the guy a couple of times. 44, the linebacker that's been assigned as the spy on Perry. But he's left DBs in his wake. He's shaking a little bit of everybody in this defense.
And Perry with 188 on the ground. Nelson Smith. He takes his man for a ride as we take a look around the American after that pickup of 5. SMU comfortably on top of Temple as it stands, and that big one still to come with Memphis and Tulane tonight, along with ECU UCF right here on CBS Sports Network.
Remember, Malcolm Perry has 4 200-yard games. 5 is the Navy record. Mike McCord
could tie that mark, and instead he'll give up the yards here. Taj Malloy, thank you very much, into the end zone, touchdown. 26 yards for the man who wears number 25, his first TD of the year and the 3rd of his career.
Yeah, despite the mistakes, despite the problems, Navy's offense, their offensive line, and the efficiency of this blocking scheme has put guys on the ground. They finished them off, and they have worn USF down.
And so the 4th quarter hasn't really been a challenge for Brian Newberry's defense because Navy's pretty much been driving the ball in the 4th quarter.
Well, it's been about winning the second half to Kenny Niumatalolo, and he's up 14-0. You've got 2 choices when you block usually. It's you put guys on their back or you put them on their face. Look at those cut blocks. Those put people on their face and keep them away from ball carriers.
CBS Sports Network has more college football headed your way next. ECU UCF, and at 11 Eastern, Air Force flies to Hawaii to battle the Rainbow Warriors on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. So here's where Florida rests as of today. The Gators, a big win this afternoon.
Yeah, I knew our director, Andy Friedman, would have to find a way to work the Gators into the conversation somewhere.
He's got his family in town as well, and they're off to a 7-1 start. UCF, 18 straight home wins, stands 4-2. A lot of Florida ties for this USF team. Kerwin Bell, the former SEC Offensive Player of the Year, from walk-on to greatness with the Gators. Charlie Strong was a GA on that staff. That was his first coaching job in 83 and 84. Well, the boot by Ben Fee, and no chance to return for USF. There is a legend in the house down to the sidelines, the great Dick Vermeil with Sheehan.
Thanks, John. Well, Coach, I just let you know that Randy Cross is calling the game upstairs. I know you coached him. He said that you had some of the best relationships with his players that he's ever been around. What made you develop those special relationships?
Well, I care about them. They cared about me, and we, go mutual respect relationships, and the relationships grow. Randy Cross is very special to me. A great player, great person, a great family man. He's done it right. I'm very proud of him.
you've had so much success at every single level, but you've been involved as a TV analyst and called some of the Army-Navy games. What makes these service academies so special?
I think the discipline within the program, what we stand for, USA, you know, whether Air Force Academy, Military Academy, Naval Academy, you know, they stand for us, Americans, and they play with great passion, you know, and the game is different. Randy, this game looks a little bit like our Veer offense at UCLA a long time ago, but anyway, no, it's the kids are great, and the education they get is even better.
Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Randy.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, Dick Vermeil, his wife Carol. I think between he and Terry Donahue, I owe my career to those two guys. Terry Donahue was my offensive line coach, and Dick Vermeil was just an incredible coach for me. Went on to great fame in Philadelphia and then winning a Super Bowl with the St. Louis Rams.
Look at that stash. Look at that hair.
Oh, yeah, I had it working, didn't I?
Now the Bulls have a new quarterback in the game. Kirk Rigel just had a long completion. Marcus Wiggins, though, was down and banged up for Navy. Look at that. Nothing's changed.
Just a little different.
You guys look the same.
Just possibly slightly different colored hair.
And there is Marcus Wiggins, who's been injured throughout his career. And missed spring ball this year. Only had a couple of games played last year, getting some reps in the later stage of this one.
Coming in there, getting a shoulder banged down there into that contact. Lower your head, lower your shoulder. Sometimes some bad things can happen, but it looks like he's going to be fine getting up.
And Wiggins with some aid, making his path to the Navy sideline. Randy, the last time you and Dick Vermeil were together in the collegiate ranks, a pretty big New Year's Day game, right?
Yeah, it was Rose Bowl, January 1st, 1976. Woody Hayes and Coach Vermeil was going against Woody, and they had Archie Griffin, who won back-to-back Heisman trophies, and we had lost by 21 points earlier in the year to them. They were #1 in the country, and we beat them by a pretty good margin in that Rose Bowl. Ended up #5 ourselves. But yeah, I was lucky enough. 5 great Bruin players, coaches were in my life. Steve Butler and Mo Friedman in high school, Terry Donahue and Dick Vermeil in college, and then Bob McKittrick, the great offensive line, was a former Oregon State Beaver, but coached for years with Tommy Prothro at UCLA. It kind of molded my whole career all the way through.
Here's Rigel. Got his second career completion on the prior play off the play fake, trying to step up, showing off his strong arm. A little too strong there for Randall St. Felix. He is a walk-on out of ASA College, a 2-year junior college. He is looking for a TD and mop-up duty in this game.
Well, he wanted that thing. Look at that. He thought he had him. This kid, you know, Kerwin Bell refers to him as a guy that can just kind of do it. He's a leader. Got a lot of savvy.
Trayvon Sands. That's a little bit of push on that left side. DeAndre Williams the stop after 2.
You know, McLeod's doing all he can with that bad shoulder and that bad wrist. But this offense, you know, with Cronkrite, the way he can run, I think Charlie Strong has got to give some thoughts to giving somebody else a shot at quarterback to just sort of spark this offense, because they've got the talent. Goodness knows they've got the receivers and the running backs to put up some serious yards.
And you wonder how bad of a matchup this was for the Bulls as well. A USF team that has ECU on the road next week, a bye, and then a really tough finish to the season, even though the remaining games at home. Rigel on the run. Might have been beyond the line of scrimmage there, very close. And that is good for a catch and a first down, brought in by Jacob Mathis, 24 yards.
Well, remember, any part of the player and or the ball, as long as it's still on that side of the line of scrimmage. I think it was right there, but I believe it was still right on the line of scrimmage.
And Niumatalolo was trailing our officials. Navy calls timeout. And we'll step aside. A 35-3 score, smothering for Navy. Bulls looking for some window dressing. And we'll stay here. And we'll step aside. 35-3, Navy the lead, just called a timeout. Your keys revisited.
Well, they had the power and counter going. They didn't run those plays very often, but they ran the ball well. Only 2 tackles for loss. That's not like this defense. Navy's offense, 208 yards in the second half. That's good, and they wanted that pass. But seeing as Navy called the pass, I'm sure they gave him a chance to re-look at it again. The ball is snapped on the 44-yard line. So watch Rigel right now. He's right in front of the line of scrimmage. As he throws it, he's at the line of scrimmage. So that was not an illegal pass.
And you wonder if that timeout was called to give a little time. Take another gander. Play fake, flip in the flat, the tight end Mathis. Pursuit there for Navy.
Just a second pass to a tight end.
Touchdown that's only happened once before this year, the shutout against Wisconsin to begin the season. And a flag. We'll go against the Bulls here.
False start. From 89. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
When asked where Mitchell Wilcox, the pro prospect tight end, made his greatest strides, everyone says inline blocking, doing the right things at the line besides catching the ball.
Yeah, Charlie Strong knows about that. That was actually Wilcox there that quivered a little bit and was offsides.
Navy brings pressure on Rigel. Off balance. Rigel is down. Austin Talbert Loving. Some help late from Dave Tolentino. 4th down.
They're going to go ahead and kick themselves a second field goal. Rigel's got a little bit of, young doe. Kind of weak legs, not used to running around. That's a little defensive holding away from the ball.
Daniel Taylor, a little handsy from 33. Schrader has hit from 33 once before. And this boot, no, sir. So Schrader 1 for 2 on the day. And the Bulls, with 3 minutes left, have 3 points on the board for Charlie Strong.
And another denial in the red zone for Brian Newberry's defense. And that's the one thing that's just sort of erratic about Schrader, this young kicker. He's got the leg. Goodness knows, watching him in warm-ups, he made him from about 54, 55 yards with room to spare. He's got the leg.
And usually their shorter yardage kicker for place kicking is Kobe Weiss, the walk-on transfer out of the FCS ranks in Tennessee State. But he apparently had a hip issue and did not travel. And that is something to asterisk as Navy goes to its backup and Perry Olson at quarterback here. USF is down some impactful players. Isaac Ruas getting his first look, gets a yard. No Johnny Ford, no Blake Barnett. We have New York City.
And we got a good one in the Pac-12. A 5-yard touchdown pass from Justin Herbert to Jalen Redd. About 2.5 left in the game. Oregon leads Washington 35-31, but Washington's got the football back.
And so the Ducks storm back, but Washington's still on the run, it sounds like.
That is way too much time to leave Jacob Eason and the Huskies. Perry Olson in a quarterback.
He loses the football out of bounds. That's been an issue for Perry Olson. He hasn't been on the field a ton, Randy, but they've had issues with exchange, and here an issue with just holding on to the ball. A pitch.
He tucks it like he's going to run with it. Then he gets confronted by a defender, and he chunks it out of bounds.
Now remember, it wasn't that long ago, conference opener against ECU and the FCS non-conference game before that, when Navy was rotating all of its backup quarterbacks snap to snap.
By play, yeah.
And they like Perry Olson a lot. They think he can throw well. He reminds them a lot of a combo of Will Worth and Zach Avey. Here on the toss, hard hit from Brock Nichols. But you wonder if something happens to Malcolm Perry this season, long term, would Perry Olson be the guy? His limited snaps have not been very clean.
Well, you've seen what happens with just looking at USF as far as losing who you consider your guy. And Malcolm Perry is obviously very much Ken Niumatalolo's guy. But that's not an unusual position for a lot of major college football teams these days, to have a question as to who's going to be the guy you go to, especially when you've got a real clear number one.
So as the play clock rolled down, Navy calls timeout. Here is Navy's day on the ground.
Well, Navy's day on the ground, John, has largely been Malcolm Perry. When it wasn't Malcolm Perry, it was the fullback position. C.J. Williams had a touchdown on a halfback option pass. But the common theme in all these runs is some pretty good blocking up front by the offensive line, buying that first 5 yards or so.
Over 400 yards rushing under Ken Niumatalolo, and Navy runs for 300 and gives up 29 points or less. They're going to run to 46-1. USF's last chance for a touchdown likely rests with KJ Sales. The punt to the playmaker. He'll let it flop down. And takes a very friendly series of Navy bounds and rolls. And here's what's on the horizon for Navy. We'll be right back here on CBS Sports Network. 3:30 start, homecoming against Tulane. That's a big matchup in the American West. They'll travel to UConn and Notre Dame. SMU at home, a struggling Houston team on the road. And of course, all the pageantry and the magic of Army-Navy on CBS.
Number one job, though, for Ivan Jasper and Ken Niumatalolo is cleaning up a lot of what you saw today. You see their athletic director, Chet Gladchuk, and the superintendent there on the sideline, but cleaning up the mistakes, cleaning up the problems, because this is a good Tulane team coming in here next week.
And the landscape could change. They've got a tough Memphis team tonight. Memphis handed Navy its only loss. Poorly sold play fake, and easily Mike Flowers leaps in the air and volleyball spikes the Kirk Rigel pass into the ground.
Well, if you can't get there, you get up. Didn't really have to get up. That ball was right over the shoulder pad of the right tackle.
And Flowers getting more time with Jackson Perkins, Denzel Polk banged up. Toss here. Not a whole lot. Here's what's coming up for the Bulls, who got 4 on the ground there at ECU. And look at that finish rate.
Ooh, that's that. You know, they get that bye, and then they get Temple, Cincinnati, Memphis, and UCF.
Oh boy.
Well, at least 3 of those are at home in Tampa.
Well, Navy now seconds away. Rigel on the play fake. Bit of a tall ball brought in by Weaver. The Navy's going to have its first 3-game win streak since it started 2017, 5-0.
A lot of people out there thought Ken Niumatalolo's football team was going to be a 3, 4, maybe 5-win team for the entire season. Well, shock to them. It's a 5-win team now. There's your updated West standings and East.
Well, SMU, last we saw, was comfortably cruising against a good Temple team, but Navy still has SMU head-to-head. In many ways can control its own destiny in the West. And Malcolm Perry, a mixed bag today. Great on the ground, improv for some great plays, struggled in the air. Let's check in with Sheehan and the head man, Ken Niumatalolo.
Thanks. Big conference win. The defense, Coach Newberry said that he wanted to play a full 4 quarters. Was this the most complete game you've seen?
I thought they played phenomenal. Defense played lights out. Sputtered there in the middle of the game, had 3 turnovers, and our defense didn't flinch. Man, I thought we played really, really well on defense.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. There are certainly teaching points to come from, you look at the final score, you'd think overwhelming annihilation. And in some ways, perhaps yes, but definitely some correctable points.
The kind of performance you can get away with against a team you really should do this to.
Right.
Now, you come into a team like Tulane, you can't play like this. There's a lot of teaching points and a lot of cleanup points for Navy between now and next Saturday.
And now time for one of the grand traditions in sport, the Navy alma mater, the Navy blue and gold. Navy gets the victory. Ken Niumatalolo's team won just 3 games last season. Got over the hump, finally snapping the road skid last week against Tulsa. And an imperfect game from Malcolm Perry, yet his biggest playmaking talents proved incredibly fruitful in some back-breaking scores.
And the refreshing thing about Malcolm Perry is how candid he is and how hard he is evaluating himself. He'd be the first one to tell you if he plays poorly.
He says he's his own harshest critic. Let's get his words with Sheehan.
That's right. John just said you're your harshest critic. I know that you're going to want to get some of those plays back, but how can you get better for next week?
Just go out to practice, learn from our mistakes in the game, and continue to have a fire under us.
But it's a huge conference win. You had an amazing game rushing. The people on the sideline still look shocked when you make some of those moves and change your directions. What were you seeing out there?
Just open lanes. The linemen were blocking great. Obviously, the A-backs and the wide receivers were blocking their butts off, and just gave me an opportunity to make plays.
The defense out there had a strong game. Coach Niumatalolo praised them. What did you guys see out of them and their work this week?
The defense is playing phenomenal. They kept us in the game. They kept the momentum on our side, and can't give them enough credit.
Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you next weekend.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Sheehan, and thanks to the QB. And that's going to wrap things up from here in Annapolis. Navy runs to its 5th win, its first 3-game winning streak since early in 2017. For the Hall of Famer, Randy Cross, Sheehan, Stanwyck, Birch, and our entire crew, I'm John Sadak. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network. Now to New York, inside college football. Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, Kevin Carter.